All right, I was sent a video that says everything you need to know to become financially free, financial literacy, everything in a pretty short period of time here. So I'm going to watch this with you, have a little reaction, and see how they do.
Everything you need to know to become financially free. The most precious asset that you will ever have is financial literacy because of how
Okay, first off, the most precious asset you'll ever have is yourself. You are your greatest asset, not a stock, not a bond, not a piece of real estate, and not education in such a narrow topic of just money. The ultimate thing is relationship with self and relationship with people that matter. Relationship to money is part of the equation, but not the most precious asset you'll ever have. Okay, I'm just going to say that.
important it is. Financial literacy is the capacity to comprehend financial principles and to use them effectively in your own life.
Good definition.
Financial literacy includes the ideas of budgeting.
Budgeting is all about scrimping, sacrificing, saving, delaying, deferring. It's an antiquated concept that does not work unless you want to shrink your way to wealth. You want to create cash flow. You want to create automatically saving, paying yourself first, and have that become something that then you just spend whatever else is left over. Because when we budget, we scrimp, save, sacrifice, delay, and defer, and ultimately we neglect our greatest asset, ourself, and our ability to expand our means and to add more value and to serve more people.
Bill paying, investing, upholding good credit, limiting debt, and managing a retirement account. Your most precious asset is financial literacy because it.
Okay, they're trying to make another argument on this being your most precious financial asset. It's helpful, definitely important, because how we view the world, what we know, our perspective. But I'm going to say it's that you are your greatest asset, that when you design a game of life that you really enjoy, you design a life you don't want to retire from, when you have a vision that's so compelling that that you want to get up and do what you can do to add more value and serve more people, that vision is the rarest commodity and probably one of the most precious assets that will lead to money is if it's something that really calls forward your greatness.
More than any other element, influences how successful you are with money in general. Lottery winners who lack financial knowledge may quickly find themselves back in debt.
Yep, good point. It's about stewardship and your understanding, and lottery winners often don't. They end up worse, like, bankrupt or in jail, or, all these people coming out of the woodworks and, oh, you remember that one time I did something nice for you? So they got to buy their family a bunch of stuff, and then they get a tiger because they don't know what the hell they're doing, and it goes away just like their money.
Debt. The same is true for some professional athletes who do not save money.
Yeah, there's the documentary called Broke, and how a lot of professional athletes are broke within a certain amount of time after being a professional athlete.
Make smart investment while they're playing. No matter how much money you make, if you just waste it all, it doesn't matter. Middle class.
Yeah, there's what you make, and then there's what you keep. And there's also how much you make and how you make money or grow the money on the money that you do make. So make, keep, and grow are these three elements that are really critical when it comes to money.
Also become millionaires by being frugal and making regular investments, regardless.
Okay, that's true. If you read The Millionaire Next Door, they made this argument. It's very compelling, but it's kind of, you never get to enjoy quality of life or live wealthy along the way. And it's all about like passing on money to your heirs that didn't even know that you were wealthy, because it's about living so frugally that you're a broke, miserable millionaire your whole life. So that is something you can do, not the best way that I would say recommending it, not the best piece of financial literacy.
Majority of other variables. A lack of financial literacy is the main barrier to a long-term financial success. In this video, we will talk about financial literacy and how it will help you become financially free.
So let's talk about what financial freedom is versus economic independence. Financial freedom is when money is no longer the primary reason or excuse why you would do or not do something. It's still a consideration, just not the primary consideration. So when we put value first, then we look at the economics to the cost and then the price. That's the financial freedom formula. People that are not financially free, it's all about money, it's all about price, it's all about cutting back, and they don't consider the economic impact. You could invest more in the right relationship, like an accountant, that might cost you twice as much, on the price, but you end up saving 4 times more than what you paid in tax because you have the right professional. So it's about value, which is your overall feeling of satisfaction, enjoyment. It's that personal satisfaction, right? How does it relate to you? Then cost is the economic impact. You could have something that's low price, high cost, because it's just constantly needing repair, it's broke, and you have to go replace it. Or you have something that's high price and low cost, low price and high cost. It just depends, right? Like high price and low cost is that right professional in your life, or hiring the right person, or having the right financial team, or whatever that might be.
3. What are the 5 guiding principles of financial literacy?
Yeah, and let's see, like principles are kind of these like, laws almost, right? Like what is a principle? It's almost like it's universal law that never changes. So are these strategies or principles? That's the question I'm going to put out here right now.
The first stage is to comprehend the 5 fundamentals of financial literacy. Earn. The majority of individuals define earning money as trading their time for cash, payments, or paychecks.
Yeah, which we don't want to just trade time for dollars. We're thinking about, I just last month sold a bunch of Killing Sacred Cows, like 372 copies, which if you go to garrettgunderson.com/KSC, it's the lowest investment to get that book. But, that's something that keeps producing, even though I did that in 2008 is when that book came out. So it's not trading time for money. It's creating something that creates consistent cash flow. But earning is an important part of this. Like how much you earn, how much value you create. Is it a principle? No, it's just a tenet or an idea or a good, emphasis, but not necessarily a principle.
Working for a client.
Like a principle might be exchange creates wealth. That's more of something that's like a principle. The more we exchange with one another by adding value and serving others, and the more often a dollar circulates and creates velocity, that's more exchange creates wealth would be more on the principle side.
Employer or company owner can earn you money. In the gig economy, you can work for others, create logos, transport people, or carry goods in your car for a pay without having an employer. There are countless options, but making
that is a little tough to get financially free doing that. It's kind of like a good boost, but the gig economy isn't necessarily like, unless you created the app or you can create some level of scale or leverage and not just trading your time for money. It's kind of the starter kit, not the end result.
Money involves more than just doing the labor for others.
And see, that's good. They're about to make that point.
Millionaires think differently than the average person. Your very top priority as the owner of a business, a professional, and as an entrepreneur is to figure out how to add
value to others. Great. Like it.
Value for others. Save and invest. This is the capacity.
Okay, so saving and investing are two separate things. Saving is setting money aside that's available, that is relatively risk-free, meaning it's as safe as possible, because you could have a bank that goes under, the government could not change the debt ceiling and default or be delayed on paying out a treasury or something like that. There are things that are safer, so you're looking at something that's pretty safe. That's your savings. It's available and safe. Investing is you're looking to grow it. So to put these collapsed is unfortunately a lot of people do, but I don't want you to collapse those two things. I want you to automatically save and deliberately invest. Automatically save and then deliberately invest when the right investment comes along. Just set it and forget it. Invest early, often, and always. That kind of notion has people become kind of brain dead when it comes to their money, not measuring the outcomes, just hoping for the best, thinking they're in it for the long haul, while other people, they're making more than you because they're focused on cash flow and they're focused on mitigating risks. So savings, build your peace of mind fund, have at least 6 months of expenses set aside in savings. That could be in some in gold and silver, some in a checking or savings account, some in treasuries. Even a tiny bit of that could be in crypto, even though it's really volatile. I'd only count Bitcoin, and everything else, I would be careful with the shit coins out there. But ultimately, investing is when I'm putting money, I'm hoping to get cash flow. I'm looking to grow. I'm investing in building this channel, or I'm investing in a piece of property or something like that. That's investing, different than saving.
To save some of the money that you earn rather than spending it all.
Yeah, and paying yourself first is really helpful in that.
All right away. Savings are later turned into investments by purchasing stocks, bonds.
It is interesting that most people think of investments as stocks and bonds rather than intellectual property, right? Or stocks is listed first over even real estate, or, building a business or acquiring a business. Like some of those things are just training us to set our money aside and not really know what it's doing.
Other assets, which we will discuss in a moment. It is vital to understand investing. Protect. Wealth protection is a term used in the financial sector to describe wealth management methods and tactics that assist people, families, and
Yeah, I mean, protecting A lot of people just neglect the protection of having enough liquidity or transferring their risk with insurance or having basic asset protection or corporate structure or, liability coverage or just the right education so that you can learn to mitigate risk. It's one of those things that's neglected often, and that missing piece of financial literacy leads to long-term losses. So far, so good on number 3.
Organizations in safeguarding their assets. Because life doesn't always go as planned, everyone has to have protection in place. For an instance, you might lose your job or be injured or be unable to work. If you don't have wealth protection in place, this could result in bankruptcy or the foreclosure of your property. Spend. This principle is about the...
And that's not like a principle. So I think we're overusing the term principle here. It's a category. Hey, here's the different areas to emphasize to increase your financial literacy, not the principles or the laws of the universe, but yeah, like how you spend is going to make an impact.
Capacity to manage your spending and create a budget so that you may...
And budgeting isn't the key to wealth because there's 4 types of expenses. Number 1, destructive expenses. Those are the things to be eliminated. You borrow to consume. You're paying for things that destroy your ability to produce or that are escapisms, or things that prevent you from enjoying life because you just are buying something that ends up putting you in a really bad situation. The second type is lifestyle expenses. These are utilities and clothes and housing, and we just want to do all we can to pay cash for those in most circumstances. Maybe buying a car requires financing at times. Maybe buying a home requires financing at times. And how you go about paying for that home is a major component of this because there's a difference between method and objective. If your objective is to pay off all your loans, that's great. But if your method is to just give the money to the banks at the expense of, having a strategy of which loans to pay first, or how to maximize your tax deductions on the loans that you do pay, or, not having all of it locked up in an institution and instead having it somewhere, it kind of sounds like your money's crazy locked up in an institution, but like in equity jail because it's all equity in your home versus having some money on the side so that you have at least 6 months set aside. So this is kind of part of it is I don't want to just be budgeting. I want it to pay yourself first, invest back into yourself, focus on quality of life along the way, and expansion is the key to wealth, not reduction.
Within your means while yet having money to save for the future. By shopping around and weighing your options, you can be sure that you are...
And you have to think, is it worth your time to save on a transaction? And what's your time worth versus doing things that help you to add more value, to deliver more value to more people, to refine your skill sets, to put you in the right mindset. And sometimes people get obsessed with savings at the expense of growth.
Receiving a fair deal with your purchases or for your purchases.
And sometimes, like I knew about this guy, Lamb's 10, he called it. He paid 10% more than anyone asked because he'd get more out of him and then he could free up his time to do other things instead of having to micromanage that. So this is like an element, but it's not the element of wealthy. He's talking about a millionaire mindset. It's not about, hey, I'm just going to find the cheapest possible transactions because you got to determine what your time's worth. And maybe it's worth more to add more value than to cut back on costs.
Make sure that you are living within your means when you are thinking about making a significant purchase and decide whether it is a need or a want.
This is like overemphasized, need or want. Like, I believe in mindful cash management. So if you've got the money and it adds value to your life that you just enjoy it, it's okay. Like, I like going to Europe more than I like going to Mexico. It costs a lot more, but I enjoy it exponentially more. That's just my personal preference. And value is perspective. It is your preference. So think about the things that matter most and go ahead and have the money for that. Create a living wealthy account that you automatically put money into so you have guilt-free spending. But then don't waste your money on things that don't matter or just about showing something to someone else that you're just trying to like prove something. Not often happens when we just haven't loved ourselves enough or invest enough in our own skill sets and we're trying to cut corners or skip things. But I would think more about your relationship to value than transactional things overriding that take too much of your time.
Borrow. The final principle is about knowing
Yeah, and that's not a principle. It's a strategy, when to borrow and not to borrow.
loans to buy assets like houses. Knowing how to get out of debt, such as credit card.
Debt, that's how my son says it, but it's debt. How to get out of a loan is different than getting out of debt. Debt is when you owe more on something than the asset that corresponds to it. So a basic balance sheet is assets versus liabilities. When you have more assets and liabilities, you're in equity. You have net worth. When you have more liabilities than assets, you're in debt. So debt's a function of your assets versus your liabilities. You don't want to get into debt, but borrowing does not always equal debt. It might actually equal equity if you have the right deal. And it really depends on how good of a steward you are with money. For some people, borrowing might be like lottery syndrome. They know what they're doing. They decimate their wealth because they get over leveraged.
And not overspend on a car loan are also important skills to have. The ability to borrow money enables important purchases, such as attending a college or purchasing a home. Make sure that you can handle a debt before considering taking it on. Debt is not always a terrible thing. In fact, it can increase your wealth by meeting.
Again, it's borrowing and understanding the definition here. Borrowing gets us a loan. Does the loan get access to an asset that creates more cash flow than it has in expense? Or is it got more value and equity than it has against what we borrowed? And a lot of people are borrowing for things that are gone. They borrow for a trip and then they come back, they have the memory, but they don't have any asset that corresponds to that. And now they're in debt. So you got to be really careful about those destructive expenses. Talk lifestyle expenses. The third one is what he said was number 3, protective expenses. Protective expenses, we have asset protection, we have corporations, we have liability coverage, we transfer risk with insurance, we have liquidity and safety because we have enough money set aside, we get our education. And the fourth one, and this is really important, is productive expenses. We put in $1 more than $1 comes out. Maybe that's investing in our skill sets or the right employee or the right marketing initiative or the right financial education. And what it does is that financial education teaches about how to save tax. We put more money in the bottom line because of that education, and it's measurable that it added more than it took away. So productive expenses are absolutely key.
Meeting your liquidity demands as your investments increase. What are the key financial assets? Now you know the principles of financial literacy. We go to the
Or
financial
ideas or
assets. We
categories.
mentioned assets by the principles of saving and investing. We believe it's critical for you to understand a few key assets on your way to financial freedom. Now let's begin by discussing the first asset. Asset 1, financial literacy. This is the ability to manage personal finances effectively.
Yeah, be a steward. Be a steward over your finances. Take responsibility. Financial literacy is part of that.
2, financial intelligence. The understanding of how capital functions in a business, accounting.
Literacy, intelligence feels a little tomato to me. Maybe I would say have the right financial team, the right financial structure, a family office. So you've got the right, accountants and attorneys and investment advisors and cash flow specialists. And maybe you don't have enough money to merit all of that. So where could you learn from them? From books and videos, and have the right team that's kind of educating you so you make the right choices over time. That can lead to intelligence, but it's tapping in because nobody that's not an attorney is going to understand everything there is about asset protection, but you can get the basics. It's that attorney that's going to bring it all the way home and know the nuts and bolts. You might not read the entire tax code because who does, but if you have an account that's passionately a tax strategist and proactively navigating that, having them on your team is one of the most intelligent things that you could do.
And the stock market. 3, ability to earn money.
Yeah, that's really important. Earn money, and especially not just trading time for money, but discovering your sole purpose, your values, your passions, your abilities for the highest context of living, or having that vision, your investor DNA, what to invest in, what not to invest in, because risk is in you, the investor, not just the investment. And so how can you become a better investor? That's part of financial literacy and intelligence. Ability to earn more money is how do you create cash flow from your assets? How do you actually make more money because you know how to add more value? That is going to exponentially help you over time.
Training and experience necessary to be paid for your efforts. 4, business. Having a profitable company that pays you.
That definitely is nice. I mean, that's a pretty quick for how difficult that can be for some people. There's business acquisition. There's, because there's a lot of businesses being sold over the next several years. There's starting one from scratch. There's, having partnerships there, but you could really scale a business because if it's small, it has a lot of opportunity for growth where the already established blue chip companies, that are already $1 trillion company, for example, it's gonna be hard for them to get to 2 trillion, a lot harder than someone going from 100,000 to 200,000 because there's just not as much market to kind of get. It's already somewhat saturated versus something that is smaller and has a lot more nimble and opportunity to do something. So scaling business is absolutely a great way to grow your financial assets.
5, partner. Getting married to a person will be a financial advantage to you.
Yeah, this is great because you go to garrettgunderson.com/quiz, find out your money persona, which is instrumental Your money persona is probably the thing that will tell you more about whether you're going to succeed or fail around your business decisions and financial decisions than anything else, because you start to understand what would sabotage you and where scarcity kind of can sweep you away into things that are negative, and what it takes to create a more winning game, and what those subconscious things are that are critical in you making these decisions. And so having the right partner in marriage is so critical, because then you're a team and you're working together. My wife is a planner in her money persona. I'm a creator, so she's really good with the details and analyzing. I'm really good at bringing opportunity and creating, and so it's been awesome. But before we understood that, there was more contention. So I like that point.
Either through support, wisdom, or their own income. 6, cash flowing asset. Something that you own.
Yeah, create economic independence by having cash flowing assets. Most people are stuck in accumulation, waiting for 30 years, hoping that it's going to pay off, funding their retirement plan, and then neglecting that cash flow. Cash flow is key. Get that now, and then it frees you up so that when you have your assets covering your income, then you're free to choose what you want to do and swing for the fences on your vision.
That consistently pays you while you own it as a cash flowing asset. They could be tangible, intangible, or digital assets.
Good points.
7, stocks. Owning a variety.
Look, I have a pretty negative bias against stocks because so many people think that that's the only way to invest. Put money in mutual funds. There's like $22 trillion in mutual funds. They're just putting it away every single month. Not sure, is it going to work? Is it not going to work? Being diversified because they don't know enough, so they spread themselves thin. And ultimately, people are putting money in stocks before they've paid off loans that are costing them more than the stock is earning, or before they've figured out their own vision or increased their ability to earn income. And stocks, for a lot of people, it used to be a great thing in the stock market, allowing these companies capital so they can have a big vision and get it out there. Now, it's really run by Wall Street in a way that is, I think, adverse. It's a negative for most people because of dark pools, because of flash trading, because of technology displacing some of these companies, and because people aren't paying attention because they don't know enough about what's going on in each boardroom. They're just trusting the experts, but the experts are probably salespeople handing it off to someone else. And maybe they might just be better off in index funds, or maybe a few stocks that actually matter to them. But we've just been trained that that's what investing is, and we set it and forget it, and we invest early, often, and always, and we keep our fingers crossed. And a lot of times people are let down.
Selection of companies from various industries and market caps are known as having a stock portfolio. 8, real estate. Having a home or other property.
Yeah, be careful with real estate. I mean, again, it's investor DNA. Business could be very detrimental for someone who doesn't like business, doesn't want to be part of business, and might be better being an entrepreneur working inside of a business and creating upside potential than an entrepreneur that has the downside risk. Stocks, I've already talked about, but real estate, people can get over leveraged, they borrow too much, or they just hand their money over to funds they don't know enough about, and then they're doing it part-time against people that do this full-time. So it comes down to, what's your investor DNA? What do you value? Like, what are your values? What are your competencies? Where do you have knowledge or an ability? And then what are your drivers? Where do you want to put your attention? And then focus on that to grow your wealth instead of getting diversified in too many things you don't understand. But a lot of people get over leveraged in real estate. They don't know enough about it. They don't get the education. So not all real estate investors are created equal. 2 people with different knowledge can end up, one loses money on the deal and another one makes money on the deal. And it could have been the same home, and it could have been in the same short period of time because of who you are.
Ready for investment. 9, gold. When compared to keeping fiat currencies, these precious metals has historically served as both an inflation hedge and a store of purchasing power.
Yeah, maybe it's a small hedge, but gold doesn't typically cash flow, and I take physical receipt of it instead of having a note, because there's a lot more notes that are attached to gold because of derivatives, and there's actually gold to fulfill them.
10, digital assets. Anything of value that you own in the digital form falls under this category.
This could be intellectual property. That might be useful. I've got, money that comes in because a Kindle book sells. So that's great, or websites or things like that. But also, I do have some cryptocurrencies, but just really 3. I think most of them are shit coins that aren't going to make it. And there's been a lot of hype and greed that really kind of decimated a lot of people and their money in that world.
Category, which also includes websites, ebooks, e-courses, NFTs, non-fungible tokens, and crypto real estate. These are also interchangeable as assets with cash flow. 11. Diploma. A monetizable degree is a value.
And that's probably not as valuable today as it used to be. I've seen a lot of data on that. I mean, yeah, maybe for some people because they want to be a doctor, but there's such a huge student loan these days and such a delay before they start making money, and these pressures that are coming, especially in the United States with insurance companies and worries of lawsuits that, it seems like those incomes haven't gotten better. They've gotten worse, but there's more demands that have been placed on them. So it depends on what you're going into. A diploma might just be a detour. For some, it might actually be a good thing, but I'm not really encouraging either of my kids to go get that in this stage. Some of, one of them might, one of them might not. I just want them to find their value, add value in the world, invest back in themselves. Go out there, and if they're going to create a business, do that. If they're going to do something within another organization, it's not quite what it used to be. And with artificial intelligence, it's going to be even less so in the future. And I think that there's been too much of a student loan burden for far too many people.
Valuable asset that can help you land a job in the field of your choice. The cost of the degree and the expected earnings throughout the course of your career are crucial factors in your decision. Over the previous 20 years, the price of degrees has skyrocketed. Due to the rise in college graduates and the loss of so many white-collar jobs to technology, the value of a
So we're kind of on the same page here.
college education has also decreased. Before obtaining any degree, consider the return on the investment. 12. Cryptocurrency. The value of
We kind of had cryptocurrency and digital assets, and now he's bringing it up again. You got to realize it's a very volatile world, and if you can't describe what you have in a paragraph or less, you have a lot of risk and speculation. A lot of it isn't going to exist, but I do think there's some that are here to stay because there's been enough value behind it. And these ICOs, or initial coin offerings, were a way for a lot of people to pump and dump and extract value from investors. And regulation may not actually be the answer because banks are highly regulated and they're getting their butts kicked right now.
cryptocurrency depends upon its use as well as the supply and demand for a given coin at any given time. Bitcoin has given the world of currencies a new category. Despite of this, cryptocurrency is a very risky and a volatile investment. Additionally, it does not only rely on profits or cash flow like businesses or real estates do. Nevertheless, it ranks among the world's largest asset classes.
It's pretty small compared to the stock market. Mutual funds dwarf it. $22 trillion. Are you kidding me? Calling it one of the largest assets, it's pretty new.
What is your most valuable financial asset? Your single biggest financial asset is not your house or your retirement portfolio. It's your ability to earn an income. For most people, this will be their ability to work a job in their career.
That's related to what I'm saying. You're your greatest asset. So we're better than his original premise of financial literacy.
Of choice. For the rich, it can be their cash flow from investments, real estate, royalties, or a business. As long as you maintain your ability to earn, then you can get a new house or build a new retirement portfolio. When you choose your ability to earn, then you must start using your assets for living expenses. Your ability to earn the most money possible and the worth of your financial literacy determines the speed and size of your financial success. What role does financial intelligence play? There is a FI for financial intelligence, just as there is an IQ for reasoning ability and an EQ for emotional intelligence. Being smart with money and finances means knowing how the capital markets operate. Knowing about balance sheets, accounting principles, and how businesses make a profit helps someone with high financial intelligence comprehend how businesses operate.
Look, this could be pretty simple. I wrote a blog at garrettgunderson.com/musings about my first business when I was 15 was Garrett Gunderson's Car Care, rudimentary balance sheets, rudimentary income statements, just understanding the basics instead of getting overwhelmed with too much out there. So I'm glad that he's mentioning this.
High FI individuals are also knowledgeable about how the stock market and investing operates. High FI individuals are aware of how businesses.
I mean, I know how the stock market operates. I don't invest in it because it's not my investor DNA. So it's focused, not diversified. That's a strategy. Diversification is a place to store. When you've already made your money, focus is the way to grow it, and then you protect yourself along the way.
Raise capital, allocate it for rewards, and control the danger of financial catastrophe. What is the most valuable asset to own for you?
Catastrophe is, I think, what he meant.
You. So, what is the most valuable asset for you? A profitable business is the most valuable physical possession somebody can own. Owning an
It's, again, he's saying most valuable and then giving multiple options. For the right person, a business gets great tax advantage. As you build cash flow, it might build equity. The less that cash flow relies upon you, you have the ability to make adjustments and utilize your labor and knowledge and all of that talent to kind of make it and influence it, where when you're investing in stocks, you probably don't have any say.
intellectual property that generates a stream of royalties or licensing payments
That's a lot of how I've created my recurring revenue is intellectual property.
is the most valuable digital asset that you can have. Due to their ability to be scaled up to a higher value without significant additional time, energy, or labor input, these assets may be the most valuable to own. While you hold them, they also provide cash.
So there's parts of this video I agree with, but budgeting is not a word I really use. It's all about automation and paying yourself first. Investing, I think, instead of stocks first, I think of self first and increasing your ability to earn. And then I think about efficiency when I think about live within your means, not just, again, budget and cut back. And you are your greatest asset, not a stock, bond, or piece of real estate. Not everybody's meant to be a business owner. Not everybody's meant to be a real estate investor. Definitely not everybody's meant to be a stock investor. Yet a lot of times people get categorized based upon who they're learning from. You got to discover who you are, what you're capable of, what you're willing to put your time and energy into to become a better investor. Anything less than that means you're going to be taking risks by not knowing what you're getting into.
Flow for you and increase their value. These assets combine growth and cash flow. The most valuable asset to possess is the one that consistently offers you a return on your investment. Consider cash flow as a tool to determine an asset's worth.
I like cash flow over accumulation. So we're in agreement there. A lot of people try to accumulate. They set money aside in a retirement plan. They take a lot of risk. They just keep putting money into it every month. It's not creating any cash flow for them. Then they finally get to so-called retirement. They're like, oh, now I got to make this cash flow. Yet they were never trained in it. And now they're subject to what interest rates are, or tax hikes might cut into their income, or inflation might destroy their purchasing power. It's really a risky proposition. So cash flow is king versus accumulation.
Flow is a recurring event, whereas the capital gains are one-time events. Think of the most valuable assets as developing, building, buying, and owning streams of cash flow, whether through stocks, businesses, trading systems, or real estate. Being educated and financially literate is the first step on the road to financial success. Discover the road to earning a nice, steady income.
All right, so this isn't everything we need to know to be financially free. What we need to know to be financially free is what creates peace of mind. What is it that allows us to say we're putting value first and money is no longer the primary reason or excuse for doing or not doing something? Financial independence is we've got to create cash flow to cover our expenses. So where can we plug financial leaks and keep more of what we make and invest that into more assets? How do we get lazy assets that are just accumulating to start creating cash flow so it can start to replace our income? And now we have more choice in what we do on a daily basis. So this is about how do you show up? How do you relate to your wealth and your money? Go to GarrettGunderson.com/quiz, find out your money persona. And to find out how to create financial freedom, it takes a little bit more than the time we have on this video that was shared. So go to GarrettGunderson.com/freedom, get my course at no charge. And it's multiple sessions that are going to help you with the philosophy that I helped to uncover. There are elements of this that were really good and elements of this that leave a lot to be desired. So there were some things I agreed with, some things I disagreed with, better than a lot of stuff that's out there, but still not everything you know to become financially free. Hey, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. And if you're enjoying these videos, well, there's good news. More where that came from. So go ahead and click through and watch the next video now.